Hello there, Impact Zone Podcast. We are back again to talk more TNA wrestling shenanigans. And well, today it's a bit weird because we are going to be talking about Rebellion, which is coming up. The thing here is, well, it is very soon because we haven't even got to Sacrifice yet. But here I am, I've got to start talking about Rebellion. Because, it is basically just 2 weeks away. It's on April the 11th. No, just a little bit under 3 weeks away. So once they get done with Sacrifice, they will basically have 2 weeks of TV to build up what is happening at Rebellion. Now, Rebellion typically is a Big Four pay-per-view for TNA. And they have a big arena to sell. That is a very big arena that they've got to sell. About 4,000 tickets currently available. I know that they can get a lot more total tickets. The total tickets that are on the arena are 13,443. So that is a heck of a lot. They've never, well, besides the shows that are in the UK, they have never gotten over 10K attendance, I don't believe. I don't even think they got that 10K in the UK, but whatever. I don't remember what their attendance record was. I can't remember. But anyway, yes, they have sold, 1,656 seats. So as of this date, and I'm taking that off WrestleTix, and they're pretty good, at keeping track of this. 190 tickets sold in the last 7 days. So, yep. That is okay. Standard ticket, $53 cheapest. But the thing is, they're only about 3 weeks out from this show, and they're only a week out from the Sacrifice show. So I was sort of talking about some of this stuff. Or some things about Sacrifice that I felt like, man, maybe they should have saved this Steve Maclin thing till Rebellion and just waited and waited. So to me, that means that they have either a rematch of some sort that is going to be bigger, badder, and better, like a hardcore sort of stipulation. Now that would make some amount of sense because it's 2 weeks later or whatever else it is. So I said this before, I don't want them to hot potato this title. I think it is more interesting if the title is somewhere else, honestly, but I don't want them to hot potato the title. I don't like it. I don't like it when you just oh, well, the person that's held it's only held it for a couple of months or whatever. That's not good. People should hold it for at least a couple of months, 5, 6 months, something like that. 8 months, Shouldn't just hold it for a month or 2 or 3 and then be like, bye, it's gone. People really want Santana to hold that belt, I know. But people are interested in this new Maclin thing. And, the new Maclin sort of, the whole thing that he's kind of doing with his new heel turn and whatnot. And I think people, again, the people have seen Maclin there for a long, long time, and they've felt like this guy deserves to be in the main event. And he's worked his butt off to do things. So he deserves something. So again, I think that he does deserve to be in that position at least. However much it makes sense to do some sort of rematch, it also is that problem of diminished returns. Again, because if you're gonna have this match, And then I would say if you're going to have a rematch, then the finish cannot be clear cut or that clear cut. It has to be something where it does feel like there's unfinished business and there's a legitimate reason to have a rematch. You know what I mean? Besides just, we're going to have a rematch. Just because. If you had have said, again, maybe like this is another thing where I said this main event match is an amazing main event match. It absolutely deserves to be on a pay-per-view in some regards. But having said that, the thing about this is if it is saying, hey, we're just going to do this thing where it's not going to be such a clear-cut thing at the end so that we can get to, Rebellion and do a hardcore match of some sort, whatever, a big time match, then instead of like having this match on pay-per-view, you should have had it on TV. And I know that some people would have said that it's giving this match away on TV for free, but when you're going to have something, some schmoz, some count out, something else or whatever else it is, some way of saying, hey, this match is going to, happen again in a couple of weeks' time, then it's like, well, dude, again, why? Why are we not just building to that thing? So to me, if that is the case, then, or isn't the case rather, I guess in some regards, it's like, well, now we've got to look at saying, well, what can they build in 2 weeks? In 2 weeks, which is what they, well, just a bit over 2 weeks, but still 2 weeks that will be bigger and badder and better and more exciting and more interesting than this Macklin thing with Santana. You've got a couple of options realistically only. You've got two definite guys there in Nick Nemeth and in Eddie Edwards, who both have the ability to call their shot, and I guess Leon Slater, but you're not probably going to do that. At least with Santana being on top, unless you're going to turn one of them heel, and I just don't see that happening at this point. So again, I don't see that you're gonna go down that route yet with Leon. Maybe like later on in the year you will, but like I don't see it right now. So there are, like, at least in the company, of course we can talk about if they're going to bring in Chris Jericho or if they're going to bring in this person or that person or whatever else it is. But the thing is, to build up such a big match in only 2 weeks, if it's not between again, Eddie Edwards or Nick Nemeth, and I would assume it's not with Nick Nemeth in some ways because they're putting him in more of a mid-card, tag team role right now. So I don't really think that it's going to be him, and I don't really think it's going to be Eddie because I think, maybe it could be. Maybe it could be, but I don't really think that it will be. I don't know. I mean, am I wrong? I don't know. In some ways, again, I do feel like this whole situation with Eddie and whatnot is kind of like, I don't know, we haven't jumped the shark yet, but it's like, this is old hat, to me. I don't know about you guys, but it is to me. And again, I think that they could have done a better job of giving somebody else the Call Your Shot Gauntlet, the Call Your Shot Gauntlet or the Feast or Fired briefcase, honestly, and whatnot. So again, I don't know. It's sort of a difficult set of circumstances where you've got to, and again, like, this is the problem. You don't have a lot of major superstars. You've got a lot of guys that you can build into that place, but you haven't got like very easily recognizable names, except maybe Nick Nemeth, like the Hardys, but I'm not counting them because they're a tag team. We're talking more about the singles division here. So it's more like, again, it's more like NXT, where you do have some smaller name guys kind of thing. But if you're involved in TNA, or you've, especially right now or in the last few years, you would know who most of the major players kind of are, you know. And even then, even if you don't really know who the major players are, and I'm not talking about the tag team, you can easily watch it and easily see who the major players are. The major players are guys like Moose, Eddie, I don't know whether you count EY, but EY, Eric Young, aka Eric Young, rather, Kazarian, Mike Santana, Steve Macklin, maybe AJ Francis, maybe Mustafa Ali, kind of. Those are like your major. Oh, and Nick Nemeth. I think I said Nick Nemeth, but I can't remember now. But yeah, those are your major players. Those guys. And like, you had some major players before, obviously. And I'm not talking about the tag team, but you've had some major players before, you know, and, you know, I think that's the one sort of big thing that's kind of missing sometimes. It's not just saying, hey, we've got this major player coming in like Jericho or whatever, whoever. It's like, say, or, you know, I'm going to say his name in a minute. Not that one. Not Joe Hendry. He's in WWE, we know that. But we're not going to look at it saying, well, what, like, how come we haven't got somebody like that? Well, we do have somebody like that, which is Santana. The thing is, you know, you have to take, and again, this is why I say you needed to build some of the other players that are kind of there a bit more, so, and so that Santana has something to fight with, and so that those guys that are fighting Santana feel like they're moving up and they can put other people over as well. And you have to have those other people moving up and feeling like they're getting closer to that position too, so that, again, those guys actually have somebody to fight. So, and I said this a while back, but maybe EC3? I don't know. But I do feel like that is way too quick for somebody like EC3 to come in and do that. So I really don't feel like you can have such a major person debut and come in and try to win the title within the first 2 weeks. Like, if you have somebody like Jericho, Karrion Kross, or somebody like that come in, I don't feel like they should get the title or get to challenging the title in the first 2 weeks. That does feel like, you know, hey, we haven't got anyone else, so here we go. But again, you want to capitalize on people being like, holy shit, Jericho's here, or whoever, whatever, you know, that sort of thing. You don't want to just be like, oh yeah, they're here, whatever, and they're not going to get a title shot for weeks and months of whatever else it is, but they're going to be here. But the thing is, like, again, like, you've got a bunch of, like, heels basically at the top, whereas your babyface lineup, so to speak, is just a little bit thin. So the main reason why I wanted to come on here and sort of talk about this is because we're so close to this event. And basically this is close to WrestleMania week. So you've got to be thinking, like, again, we're going into WrestleMania season. So this is one of the times that TNA could actually, bring some hype for some people to come and see their show. Not instead of seeing WrestleMania, but, well, maybe instead of seeing WrestleMania if they can't afford the tickets. But, again, as an alternative or as something else that's on at roughly the same time. So if you're in town or you're around the place, hey, you can get to see this thing on, down here and doing that thing. So I'm just going to quickly scroll through and have a bit of a think of the roster. Let's see who else is on here. Yeah. I mean, Moose being a major babyface, yeah, sure. Absolutely. That's true, yo. Yeah, no. Yeah, that's about it, isn't it? Yeah. I like Ricky Sosa, though. I would really like him to be on the roster more full-time. But, yeah. Yeah. I certainly think your roster... You've got Elijah there. That's about it. I would say that's about it from the babyface side. So... But you've got a lot of big heels. And... I'm kind of thinking, I'm trying to contemplate what you could do that doesn't take too much build besides like bringing somebody in and then giving them basically an immediate title shot that's not a rematch. So that, unless it's like Nick Nemeth or Eddie cashing in, I wouldn't say that there is that kind of big time matchup. I would say that those are the only things that you could do. Looking at, like, I don't think AJ makes any sense. I think, you need more time to elevate him. Bear Bronson definitely doesn't make any sense. He's more of a tag team guy right now, and he needs a lot more elevation to kind of get there. Cedric Alexander's more of an X Division guy right now, and needs a lot of building to get to that point. Eric Young is kind of in the same position, and yeah, probably needs a fair bit of building to get to that point, but I don't really see the point in getting him to that point because, again, yeah, he's already done all that, so he's more of an upper card guy who just puts other people over for the most part. Kazarian, maybe, but, like, really, I don't see it, and I think people would be like, unless, like, you're thinking, like, 4-way, 5-way, or something like that. But 4-way, 5-ways, or things like that are usually, like, built for weeks and weeks and weeks and things like that. It's usually not, things like this where it's just, like, the turnaround of 2 weeks or whatever. And I think sometimes if you're thinking a rematch, you're more thinking, like, somebody beats somebody for the title, and then you're going to have the rematch next week. I mean, Rich Swann is there. I mean, but he's more of a tag team person, I would say. So, I think Mr. Elegance, despite how early on he is, he could be something if you build him upright. But yeah, you've got to take several months to probably do that. So yeah, there's not really, besides like bringing somebody in or having a rematch, I don't really see, Yeah, and them getting an immediate title match, or Eddie or Nemeth cashing in. I don't really see like that you're gonna get to that point. And maybe that's how, maybe you should have a triple threat. I don't know. You know? Maybe that's how you schmoz this ending without people going away too pissed. You know? And you've actually built a story to see like something next week or what, or next, in the next week or whatever, next 2 weeks, whatever. Some sort of rematch. I mean, like, I think realistically as well, like, in some ways you need to, like, look at it like, okay, well, maybe we should have saved this to Rebellion. Like, I don't... The thing about, like, saying, hey, we messed up and we can't have this match is like, or whatever, we can't have it now, is like, that's shitty, dude. You've got to have a match and you've got to try to deliver. And you've got to try to deliver something that the fans want. But you've got to also try to deliver something that the fans will not only just want now, but will want again in 2 weeks' time. You know what I mean? Or something else that they will want to see in 2 weeks' time. You know what I mean? So again, if you're going to say, hey, let's put the title on Nick Nemeth, or let's put the title on somebody else, or whatever else it is, well, yeah, I'm sure people want to see Santana try to win that belt back. But the thing is, it is very much like, well, what are we doing that for? You know, type thing. You know, like, besides just give Nick Nemeth another title reign or whatever. I don't think that that's something that they need to do. It's not. You do not need to rely on guys like Nick Nemeth anymore, or you shouldn't have to. You know, like, again, that's why I was saying, hey, let's make the Carter shot, or let's make the Feast or Fired briefcases, the things themselves, the thing that people fight for. Not, like, the international title, or whatever, you know, that sort of stuff, because that will give people more of a, it's a clear thing that gets defended, you know, but yet it is more of an elevating opportunity if you have it. But you've got to kind of defend it. Yeah, there's got to be some rules around it, I guess, where it's like, you have to hold it for so long or whatever else it is. But though, I think, like, again, that does make it, like, a little bit like, oh, man, then we know when they're gonna, like, cash it in. And they should just be able to cash it in whenever they want. And I do think, like, these briefcases do work better on heels and things like that, because of, or whatnot, these sorts of stipulations, you can cash it in at any time. It only works on the baby faces when the heel is just, like, won the title or something like that, or retain the title or something like that, and the baby faces come back after weeks or months or whatever else it is, or whatnot, and, you know, now it's like, you know, like when Seth Rollins, I think he beat Roman Reigns for the title, and Dean had just come back and won the Money in the Bank, and then he cashed it in on the same night. You know, those are the only times that those things work. But yeah, no, I don't know, dude. I do say, hey, you know, it is a difficult situation to be in, because it is like, you know, like, how do you make chicken salad out of chicken shit, you know, type thing. We've only got 2 weeks to build this show after Sacrifice. So what can we do at Sacrifice to build this thing up really quickly so that we all know where we're going, and so that we shift as many tickets as possible on the night so that people will tune in and turn up and whatnot for that show. That's what you got to be thinking like. Because again, like maybe if it was 4 weeks away or something like that, or whatever, or even maybe 5 weeks away, I mean, maybe not, maybe even 3 weeks away, even then you could still be like, well, we still really need to, get off onto a hot angle so that we can get people into this next event really quickly. Um, and there's just nothing. Like, obviously, I mean, besides like maybe somebody from WWE coming down or whatever. But I just don't see that either, because WWE has dragged their feet on even bringing in the more minor NXT stars. And I think TNA has kind of said, or kind of started to say, no, we're not interested anymore, I think, in a sense. We're not interested, you know. We've been partners with you for a long time and whatnot, and you might say, hey, like the guys you sent us haven't been any good or whatever else it is or whatnot and all this other crap or whatnot. I don't agree with that at all. If that's your perspective, that's your perspective. I don't agree at all. So yeah, we don't care that you sent your main eventers and your best guys to send to us, and we only sent, Obafemi once and Trek Williams like for 6 months or whatever else it was, and that was about it. Like those were our major guys that we really sent you. Oh, and Ethan Page once, and then like maybe JC Jane once, who was there for like a month, and then Roxy or what's her name? No, not Roxy. What's her name? Can't remember her bloody name now, but whatever. She was here for like a month. So again, and it was another person that was like they weren't using anyway. So they've just sent a whole bunch of their lower card, people that, they're just not using. The people that are enjoying nice catering, pretty much. So, meanwhile, TNA has sent every single person basically that they've asked for, and then some. So, they've done everything that they can do to bring in like the names that they do have. And even now, it's like, oh, you don't see Santana, you don't see this person, you don't see anyone from TNA on the WWE product, because again, they're like, no, we're sick of sending you our guys, you getting all most of the benefit, and then we don't get anything out of it, or what we get out of it is some of your talent that is just there enjoying nice catering. Like, we need more than that, especially for a small promotion. To get big buzz and to get big eyeballs and big numbers coming your way, you need superstars on your roster. Even, like I say this about the indies, a lot of indies have a lot of major superstars on them, which is insane sometimes. But even then, when they have these major, absolutely major superstars on their cards, that barely makes a peep. Why? For many reasons, but like one reason is that they don't have any TV. That's a big reason why, like these places, you don't have advertising. Yes, you have like social media, and that is where you're going to get the most like sort of engagement to a sense, but like again, unless you're the real hardcore fans that are in that area anyway, it's like, why would I go to New York to see Jericho in a MLW show? And I don't know that MLW actually works out of there, but if you know what I mean, most of these promotions only work out of one area most of the time, or one rough area most of the time. So why would somebody like in Boston or whatever go halfway across the country to go see Jericho in another indie promotion? You know what I mean? Or, whatnot. Like, you'd wait till he comes to Boston. Or you'd wait till, hey, TNA's got a really big show coming with all of these other guys, or AEW's got a really big show, or WWE's got a big show, or whatever else. So again, you wouldn't be going to these, like you might, but again, you've got to be one of the most hardcore fans already to be going there. And most people, like 99% of people, are the most casual people who only go to events, if it's really near to them, and if it's a big event and that sort of thing, you'll only get to see it once, maybe in a decade or in 5-10 years or whatever, something like that. And if they've got the money, especially when it's like WWE right now, like the money that you need to go and see some of their big shows, oh man, it's ridiculous. But like some of the stuff that they do have, some of the lighting and stuff is pretty good, but like it's not, especially when you're considering how many hundreds of thousands of people they get to these events, and some of these people are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars per seat. Like I would not know how some of these people afford these seats. It is way out of price for the average 99% viewer. So that, or you've just got to go into debt or mortgage your house to friggin', or sell a couple kidneys to friggin', go, and that sort of thing. So it's like, yeah. And people are already falling into that financial strain because of the, the insurance, the inflation and whatnot, not insurance, rather. But yeah, this whole thing, so again, it's not a simple situation of we can go and we can have a nice time and whatever else it is. And it's not just the money, it's also the safety aspect of these things, like you don't know who could try to bomb any of these things, or who could try to, shoot anyone in these things or anything like that. So again, it is a safety concern. So, and I know they take that serious. So again, not to say that your women's match or your tag team match, and in fact, I'm going to say this in a minute as well. Actually, I'm just going to say it now. This is another reason I feel like the Hardys aren't wrestling on Sacrifice, the Sacrifice card, as of yet. And why they haven't announced the match between the Hardys and the System. It's because it's happening in the next 2 weeks at Rebellion. Not only that, it is like, well, I think the Hardys, they have been reported as injured. So it's like, well, they're injured. So, and I do feel like, dude, if they're injured, even if they can go, in air quotes, it's time to take the belts off them. And I've said that so much, but now it's for another reason. The dudes are injured. So if they can't perform and they can't work, then they shouldn't be holding the belts. If they cannot defend those belts, then they shouldn't be holding them. Okay? Pure and simple. Nothing else personal or whatever in that. If you can't defend the belts, if you can't represent the division, you shouldn't be holding those belts. And like I said before, do Brian Myers and Bear Bronson, does that make a whole lot of sense for them to win it? I don't know. Does make some sense for them to win it. But it makes more sense for Bear to win it, I think. I don't know. But yeah. I think you could almost give the international title to Bear. very easily. But again, Trey's just one that don't want to see them hot potato it. They already hot potatoed it off of Stacks, but whatever. I think that again, it felt like very much like, well, this isn't working, or where the heat is, or where the story kind of is not with Stacks, it's with Ariana. So that I think they were pivoting there a little bit. And again, I think it was like not just that they were hot potatoing it, but he was more of a placeholder champion, an interim champ. Well, not an interim champion. What do you call it? What do you call it when they're just holding it for the sake of holding it, and basically that doesn't really matter. I don't remember, but yeah, like he was just holding it for the sake of holding it to transfer it to somebody else, effectively, because they had some plans for Macklin, and even like the second reign of Macklin's, they hot potatoed, and even like Kazarian's reign, they hot potatoed. So so again, the title needs to be not be, well, if you're gonna keep it, which I don't know whether you are gonna, it needs to be in a solid state at least for a little while, so that again it makes it feel like, not like everything's changing and you can't keep up with it, that there is somebody that is there representing that division, and that there are stories and challengers and whatnot challenging for that belt. At the current moment, there isn't that. So again, like, it might be time to even think about retiring it, or getting rid of it, or doing something else with it. And again, like, or just saying, okay, we are going to do more with it. We are going to think about it more. We are going to plan for it more. We are going to do more with it. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to send it around the world, internationally, blah, 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 and it's going to be defended in Germany and here. So whoever has the belt has to go around the world and defend it. I mean, that's what the world title should be as well, but like the idea that this is an international title, or we get more international people coming in to be like, I will challenge you for that belt. But then it's like really difficult because you're in the US and they're doing all these laws with the passports and the visas and the deporting people and all that other stuff. So I think that will be really difficult. But yeah, like, same with the tag teams. You've got a few good tag teams. But you just need to focus in more and say who's got the story, why have they got story, what's it going on there. And I kind of feel like it is the Righteous there. But you also need to be like, okay, not just them losing, but them winning. So it's like, sometimes they've got to do something for themselves, not just do something for somebody else. So I feel like you could have them have a match at Sacrifice or Rebellion, honestly. Or even both, maybe. But yeah. You've got to do something with them. You've got to do something with as many people as what you possibly can. That is the idea. Obviously you can't do absolutely everything with everyone all the time, but like, at least if you're trying to say, okay, like, what can we do with these people? It's like, oh, okay. And that's another reason why I say, I'll come back to this as well, Jody Threat hasn't gotten her title match that she's earned yet. It's not just to say, oh, well, Danny Luna needed to get hers and Layling Lee needed to get her rematch and all this other stuff or whatever. It's to say, hey, let's put her match on a big show and let's have her do some other stuff. That's why you're seeing her against Tessa Blanchard or whatever and all that other stuff and whatnot. And probably you will see her have a match at Sacrifice with Tessa Blanchard. And I feel like she will win that so that she can go on to Rebellion to have her match then and there, you know. But yeah. But yeah, like, so obviously then if you're not having a match for the Hardys at this show, you're obviously having the match for them in the next 2 weeks, which I think that's sort of fine in that regard, because again, that's where they're at the moment. So I just can't wait to sort of see it actually come to fruition or what have you. You've just got to get there. For Leon coming up to Rebellion, should you go back to Cedric or should you have the triple threat with Moose? I think the triple threat is bigger. I think you could have more of a focused feud with Cedric. But I do feel that that the triple threat is a bigger match, because triple threats tend to be bigger matches or whatever, in a sense, because you've got more star power or whatever else it is. Moose is a bigger star, whatever. Though again, I could say that you just might save that match between Leon and Moose for later down the road at some point, or what have you. I don't know when. Maybe you don't need to do it, but maybe you do. I don't know. But yeah. I don't even feel like the match between Leon and Cedric would be big enough for that show. I think it would be big enough for Sacrifice. I mean, like, in some ways, of course, you could be saying, hey, let's just have a rematch between EY and Leon. Let's have some sort of hardcore match. I said that could be the way you're going as well. But too many rematches also feel hollow, in a sense, where it's like, oh, cool, all the people are getting rematches. Wow. Obviously, with the women's tag team title division, I don't think you know exactly what you're doing and exactly when you're doing it. And that's why you're trying to forge another team with Rosemary and the Bunny and bring that back, because it's like, we don't have enough teams here. And the teams that you do have, for some reason, you don't trust them to be out there and do stuff, or you're just like, yeah, but we need somebody to do this. We need somebody to do that. We need, like, well, no, what you need to do is you need to have people challenging for those titles that are always getting forgotten about, or basically forgotten about. So, yeah. I mean, like, it is a B show or a C show, whatever. I know at Slammiversary, at Sacrifice, I'm going to figure out what bloody pay-per-view we're talking about. But yeah, it's more of a B show, so a few less big things, but still, like, you're expected to see some stuff and not just these, like, as I said before, a couple of those matches where it's like, oh man, what is this? This could be just a TV match, like, as I said, it's ridiculous where, you've got these two big, well, I say big, but these two sort of tag team matches, that don't feel like they really belong. And yeah, what are you doing with them? You know, the Ali Steels, Jada Stone, Trey Miguel match, and the Elijah and Hometown Man and Kazarian, AJ Francis tag team matches. Those matches, they feel like they're very like those should be on the pre-show, or those should be on the weekly TV, bro. Those aren't pay-per-view level matches. Like the build in them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure Trey and Ali could have an absolute banger. But, like, again, maybe that match alone, that and give them extra time, like, that would be good. Just have this match, and maybe that's what you're doing next in the next 2 weeks. And again, that makes some amount of sense, but it is like, well, like, instead of having Ali in this match where he's just going to pin Trey or Jada, it's like, or have Steels pin Jada, I don't know, it doesn't really matter. Then it's like, he gets to face Trey in the next 2 weeks. Okay, cool, great. And I said with the Hometown Man thing, he feels like the one that's most likely to get pinned. So, and then you've got to do stuff with Kazarian for a short time, and then get back to him doing something with AJ later on, I feel like. Yeah. And you don't really have a lot of space in that show to really do much more. You don't want to overcrowd it. And like I said, a couple of these matches do feel like, well, they're more pre-show matches. Even though Ali and Trey and whatnot will probably be really good and whatnot, that match, the tag team match, will be probably all right. It's like, or the most all right out of these. It's like, or the better out of these. It's like, well, it's still like a match that should be more on the pre-show or whatever else it is, or more of an opening match at least, because it is the least interesting match, or maybe a gap filler match, not a piss break match, but more of a match that gets people into the next stage of the show, that breaks up some of the other, like, bigger matches, or whatnot. But certainly the Hometown Man, AJ Francis, and Elijah Kazarian match, that one more or less just does not belong at all. So, there. You've got a lot of these little things that you're obviously, like, building back to in some regards, but, like, yeah, some of the other stuff I do feel like, yeah, and of course we can't really comment until we sort of see it. So, but yeah, I do feel like it is a problem, and this has been a problem that they've had several times where it's been, and this is a major show. This is one of the B shows or F shows or whatever else you want to call them that they're trying to run here and there, where you can maybe get away with, like, building them, like, kind of in a couple of weeks. You need to have been building this thing for weeks and months. Should have been building this from Genesis, realistically. And I mean, in some ways, if you're going to go back to Santana and Macklin again at that show and in a hardcore setting, that feels like that's pretty big. But then it's also like, well, how are we getting there? You know what I mean? Without gypping the crowd. You know what I mean? Because if Santana goes out there and pins Macklin, then it's like, well, that's should be the end of the story. You know what I mean? And I feel like again, you have to. I think Santana. Either way, Santana has to retain if you're going to have that big match and make it mean the most that it can. You know what I mean? Because I just don't know. Because if it's for Macklin getting the title back, then it's bigger, in my opinion, in this regard. Because, like, if you see that Macklin does beat Santana, you know that they're not going to put the belt back on Santana in a month or in a couple of weeks. You know what I mean? So it's just like, well, that means you need to have a spell, or you need to do something else, or you need to figure out how you're going to get there with this whole thing. And like I said, I don't think people would be pleased with a DQ or a count out. You know what I mean? And I said before, it's like, what can you do besides getting either Eddie or Nick Nemeth to cash in? I don't know. That wouldn't just end the match and have somebody else take the fall or whatever else it is. You know? So that then at least you kind of protect Macklin, or you can kind of build to some triple threat or something else or whatnot. I don't know. Yeah, and as I said, I don't want to see somebody else. I don't even want to see Nemeth win it. I don't want to see Eddie win it. But yeah. What if... Now, I said this before. I said maybe you'd build to Nemeth, or maybe you would build to Eddie. I haven't really considered that you would build to both at the same time. You know what I mean? So, what about that for a triple threat? Or maybe a fatal four-way. You know what I mean? I don't know. You know what I mean? But I think that the only way that you could have a fatal four-way in that regard, in some ways, is with, like, Shamaz or with, like, Macklin winning the title. Because otherwise it does become, like, Santana's going to be there, and then you're going to have a triple threat between him, Nick Nemeth, and Eddie. And why would Macklin be there involved if he's gotten beat already? You know what I mean? So Macklin would have had to have won, or you would have had to have, some sort of Shamaz where Nemeth and or Eddie tried to cash in, but they didn't quite get it done, or whatever it was. And you've kind of been telling that story where it's like, especially with Nemeth, where at every turn that he's nearly cashed it in, but he hasn't been able to. So instead of, like, trying to surprise people, he might be like, I'm sick of trying to surprise people, because at every time I've tried to surprise people, they've seen me coming or whatever else it is, and I haven't been able to even cash in properly, or somebody's ruined the moment or whatever else it is. So I'm going to call my shot now and say I want a match with Santana at Rebellion. And then Eddie's like the same sort of thing. I don't know. But then again, that still doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I would think it makes more sense for a triple threat between Santana, Macklin, and perhaps Nick Nemeth. That would make more sense at that point, I would say. So yeah, I don't know. But I still feel like you're trying to get Eddie in there, and Eddie might be like, you know what, this is my time. I want it now. I'm tired of waiting. This is my shot. Even if my odds are only 25%, I don't care. I want in that match. Or maybe it makes it clear that it's like he is going to cash in, But, like, he's like, I'm gonna wait until the night, and I'm gonna just call my shot on the night, and not, sort of thing. I don't know. So that he can have some element of surprise or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, I think it is a big problem that they're going to have to, work with and figure out what they're going to do. Or at least, like, that they've got to show us what they're going to do. Especially in 2 weeks. You can't have any fluff with 2 weeks. You've got to announce your main event either on the night of Sacrifice or the night after Sacrifice. Or you've got to announce it on the very next week of TV. And I don't know when their next set of tapings after Sacrifice are. I think it's like the next night, or maybe it's like the Thursday after. Let's see, because I'm not too sure. I know that they've got some tapings and they've announced some new tapings, and there's been some discussion about Slammiversary. I don't really think we'll get into it at this point because I would rather talk about it when it's much closer or when it's actually confirmed or when we're actually building to it. But yeah, like it is the next night on Saturday, so that is just not a live taping, and I'm assuming that's going to have to be for what? Well, that's going to have to be for the 2 nights, for the 2 weeks. Build up to Rebellion. So wait, what? April 11th, 27th, 28th. 27th, 28th, 11th. So then the 14th will be after Rebellion, which is the next set of dates. That 14th and 15th, excuse me. Then May the 14th, May the 15th. So, yeah. So you're going to have something in May. I don't know what. But yeah. We've already got most of the tapings up there to talk about. So you've got 2... Is it 2 sets? Tuesday. Wednesday. What? Saturday? What? Tuesday and Wednesday? What? That is confusing. Instead of Thursday? Whatever. So that's just taping, not a live episode. Okay. Whatever. I think that must be them experimenting with their dates and seeing what people kind of prefer, whether people prefer a Tuesday to come out and do the tapings, or I think it's better that they do the tapings on a Saturday or Friday or Saturday or Sunday, honestly. But yeah, they will have to see that for themselves. Yeah, but that is that for this one thus far, guys. Yeah, so yeah, we'll wait and we'll see more when they actually bring it to us, which will be after Sacrifice. So we'll keep our eyes and ears close to the ground and not only do a review perhaps, but I might have to do a separate video or more of a separate video that is more of a preview more instantly of Rebellion. A lot of times when we talk through these pay-per-views, we do sort of mention stuff where we're kind of trying to maybe go, but often enough it's not like all that obvious. But like at this time, they'll have to make it obvious because like you've only got 2 goddamn weeks to build to it. And it's meant to be this really big show. So it's like, yeah, you're not going to do that without some like really big stakes there to get people in the gates through the doors and whatnot. So, yeah. But anyway, guys, hope you have enjoyed this one. Hope you're all good to one another, and hope you'll join me again in another one.